What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
Richardson gonna take off and run. He's in there! Touchdown! I-N-D-Y! Outside give to Taylor. Stretching it out. He's at the 5, and he walks in untouched. Jonathan Taylor. Turner wants to do more damage, and he does.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome in. Busy Wednesday is moving forward. Eddie Gill coming up at the bottom of the hour. All 82 on the radio, along with Mark Boyle. That begins tonight in Detroit. Or as I like to reference it, the toilet. That is 6:30, your pregame coverage. 7 o'clock, which means, because the Pacers are back now, we have the very infamous segment known as Anything Goes that begins once again at 6 o'clock tonight. So be ready for that. Eddie Gill coming up at 3:30. Anything Goes in the 6 o'clock hour. So be prepared. I'm going to start right here because I know we got a lot to get to with the Colts. Jonathan Taylor back at practice. So is DeForest Buckner. Yeah, his window is now opening for his possible return at some point. But Shane Steichen did mention that Jonathan Taylor could very well play on Sunday afternoon. And let's just say this, you better hope so. And nothing against Tyler Goodson, nothing against Trey Sermon, that's fine. But to have your most talented player on the field, actually on the field, and I mean anywhere on the field, whether you're talking about offensively or defensively, to have the best player out there is going to be essential. You can make an argument. And I know that it's because a couple of big plays, and I mean huge chunk plays, like eye poppers were mixed in, the 60-yarder being one. You can make the argument that the best game for the 22-year-old quarterback Anthony Richardson was that game. You can make an argument. Now, he was getting started on the right foot a couple of weeks ago and then got derailed, as we know, but you can make an argument that best game was that against the Texans. You can also make an argument that the worst defensive planning of all time happened in week number 1. No matter what you say. And I know that back then, and again, much like, and I know this is the Halloween season, so you guys will get this, like a Nightmare on Elm Street, and I mean the Wes Craven original in 1984 with Johnny Depp and that chick that comes out to all these scare shows that a couple of times a year come to Indianapolis. What's her name? Heather Langenkamp or what? Look at that James over there. James all about his horror movies over there, aren't you, buddy?
I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
I just watched it again 2 days ago.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That would suck if you couldn't go to sleep, though. I'd understand why they all got tracked down by Freddy. I just had a problem understanding what was actually a dream and what was reality. That was driving me insane. After a while, that kind of got old. Mm-hmm. All right, it's just, oh, well, you know what? No, it's a dream. It's reality. No, it's a dream. But, you know, the reality on Sunday is there's going to be no Nico Collins. And that is a good thing because he has absolutely shredded this Colts defense like a lot of others have. But certainly without him, that is a big damn deal coming up on Sunday. Big deal. They still bring a lot to the table, but I was talking about the defense or lack thereof in week number 1. Yeah, you want to take that away. You want to take what they have away offensively through the air, and you want to limit C.J. Stroud. And let's face it, that could have been a game in which they got after the quarterback the best so far this season. Can you make that argument? Look back at the numbers. Look back at how many times C.J. Stroud was pressured, had to make plays out of the pocket in which oftentimes he made. But it happened. And that was, I thought, one of the best games that we have seen from that angle. However, Joe Mixon torched them. They decided to angle the deflector shields towards C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and this wide receiving core, and they got burned by the running back and got burned substantially. So can you maybe do a little bit of both? Is it possible for this defense to do a little bit of both coming up on Sunday? Because that's part of it. We could talk about the offense all day long. There's no question about it. And obviously, staying away from turning over the football, having your quarterback make some plays more than just with his legs would be nice. But defensively, it's one thing to be exposed by something that is coming. You knew back in that final regular season game of a year ago, you knew that Nico Collins had been a problem, and he basically ran roughshod over absolutely everybody by himself. Unencumbered to the finish line he was in that game. Just dousing them with gasoline every single play, nonstop. So you try to take that away in week number 1, and you get burned by Joe Mixon. So my question is there a way where you can figure out both? Is there a way that you can ask this so-called fantastic defensive line to be consistent and continue to get pressure? I know still obviously without DeForest Buckner, we shall see upon his return, but he was out there then. Is there anything you can do about that? Is there anything you can do that is normalcy that your defense should be doing, but let's just face it, it has not this season. Not at all consistently. So can you put pressure on the quarterback? Can you hold down what they have skill position-wise without Collins and not let Joe Mixon run absolutely wild as he did in week number 1? I know all of this is going to be a substantial long shot here, but it is certainly worthy of the conversation. But we also have to factor in that without Jonathan Taylor, even if you like what Goodson can do, and hey, you know what, this is a guy that can be utilized in the future. Well, that's great, but we are talking about in the present right now, and the threat of Jonathan Taylor, where I feel bad about – actually, I take that back. I don't feel bad about saying it because it's 100% the truth. You are becoming more and more by design and because of the evidence to just assume that he's going to miss a huge chunk of games. And that's unfortunate. And who knows if that's because a lot of that wear and tear that he took while at Wisconsin running the football for that team. I mean, he was the guy shouldering that load, and then you get to the NFL, and all of a sudden a guy that had so much durability no longer has that, no longer possesses that. But his return is necessary. If for nothing else, he is just such a tremendous threat because he is still the best player out there. Tremendous threat. But I'll start with the defense coming up on Sunday. Can you maybe play it a little bit more straight up to where you don't have to get depantsed by some portion of this Texans offense? That fair to ask? Because it's happened. It's happened in ways in which that you knew that it would occur, and then as of week number 1, you go, wait a minute, what's happening here? Well, we were angling things to take away C.J. Stroud. And again, they got pressure on Stroud. They got in his face. They made him, I'm assuming, they made him uncomfortable, yet he looked still pretty comfortable. And he's not coming off a humdinger either. Going to be tough. This is what you do. This is a really big surprise season if you were to win a game like this, or at least if you were to cash in on any of the next 5, for example. And that includes the Jets, and I know the Jets' record right now is pretty bad. What, a 2-win team? But still, on the road, Sunday Night Football, it'd be difficult. You need a couple of these to legitimize here for a stretch run, don't you? You just can't go whiffing through this and feel that there's going to be some magic that will occur in late November and in the month of December. So where are these logical win possibilities? We'll see if that starts in Houston coming up on Sunday. Discussion at 239-1070 on the show. Kevin Bowen's going to join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour with a variety of things. A quick shout-out to the Colts, too. And I don't know how much the fans care about this. Hopefully you do. Because hopefully we prop up others that, get an honor. Mike Chappell's been here since the Mayflower got here. covering this team, whether it was out of Anderson or with the Indianapolis Star or with Fox 59. And the media room over there just got named the Mike Chappell Media Room. That is a tremendous honor. And no, don't ask. I don't know what room that anybody would ever name after me. I can only imagine. The drunken complaining room? I guess maybe one of these days. Maybe just a bar stool or a seat in a bar because I'm out there so much, and according to some out there, I'm always getting drunk and always complaining about stuff. Maybe something along those lines. But honestly, Mike Chappell has a long time been a friend of not just this show, but all of our shows. And that is incredibly cool. And good for Mike. He has been around for it all. Really nice messages from Edgerrin James. Edgerrin James, honestly, is one of the best dudes of all time. I don't know if anybody else strives for this. This has always been something that has been my goal. I just wanted to be a really good dude. And you can be judgmental on, I'd like to add a really cool dude. But you can be judgmental on whether or not that's the case. That's fine. Like, I look in the mirror and I go, hey, man, you're cool. You may not feel the same way. However, I'm hoping that most of us dudes out there strive to be that. And I think any cool, any reasonable, any good dude out there would pat him on the back for a job well done for all these years and really hanging in an industry where longevity, most of the time, just simply put, does not occur. Like, I got started a little bit late, but I'm on the trail of longevity right now, too. And in what I do especially, it's few and far between. TV, you just don't see it as much as you used to anymore. And it's only going to get worse. But a job well done and the honor for Mike Chappell out at the Colts complex a little bit earlier today, getting the media room named after him. The Mike Chappell Media Room. Yeah, the JMV drunken bar stool of complaints. Exactly. That's what I'm looking for. One of these days. I would be honored to be bestowed that honor. Your Honor. Colts Conversation forthcoming. Kevin Bowen's going to join us. He was out there for that a little bit earlier today. That and obviously the Pacers. I started down this road yesterday, and we'll recap a little bit, but also go ahead and create new Pacer content about this season and the level of expectations. Don't you expect this team to finish above fifth in the East, even as tough as the East should be? You can't have, I'll give you a great example, because everybody's complaining about it right now, and you knew that they would. But as much time, for example, as Joel Embiid is going to miss in loathing the back-to-backs and protecting him for the postseason where inevitably he's normally injured anyway, putting him in a glass case has never really mattered. Like, you know and understand that around here. But putting him in a glass case has never really mattered. So, don't you think, won't you be disappointed the Pacers can't finish above the Sixers? Can't finish above the Cavs? Can't finish above the Heat? Should we not be looking at a top four team here? Is that the level of expectations? 49, 50 wins? A top four? And I know if you watched Boston last night, it's one game, I realize that, in an incredibly long season, but you had two elite dudes that are inspired. And what you saw last night with both. And for this case, and for my content to give to you, we'll look at Jason Tatum. He was a guy, much like Tyrese Halliburton, that rode significant pine in France and seemed to be a hell of a lot more pissy about it than was Halliburton. You watched it this summer, you knew a lot of pine riding going on there. Now, he normally does stuff like that anyway. He's just that good. And so is Jaylen Brown, for that matter. I mean, hell, Jaylen Brown didn't even make the team, and he was pissy about that. That's what I was saying. You have to try to find the motivation, the focus even more, especially after you're a champion. Michael Jordan, if you watched, again, that old documentary back during the COVID year, if you watch that, he's always trying to find something. He had to make stuff up. Yeah, you make stuff up. Yeah, LeBradford Smith wasn't going to talk any junk to him. He didn't make that up, and you're going to go out there and destroy somebody. That's exactly what I thought of last night in watching those two play. You're coming off an NBA title, and all of what they say nowadays, what flowers, they were getting their flowers. Is that what everybody gets, flowers now? They were getting their flowers thrown at them. Everybody's in love, especially everybody in Boston, in love with those two. And listen, they're elite level dogs anyway, but that was a couple of pissy dudes that wants to show everybody their individual talent, especially that of Jason Tatum. You saw that. Now, again, it was opening night. The juices are going to be flowing. Maybe a night in December. Not going to feel as much. January, maybe, whatever. But what I'm telling you is that level of motivation from not being picked first. I mean, hell, I could tell you all about that. I know a lot of you could tell me the same. Not making the A team. Not to be a part of something, that motivation that you have. And then you combine that with these guys already being incredibly skilled, just elite level skilled. That is the type of effort, production, and outcome that I expect from Tyrese Halliburton. That's why I thought that was a good thing. And he didn't even act mad about it. But you know, deep down inside, these guys are such elite level competitors. They're going to be mad. You have to be mad. There's no way sitting over there and watching everybody else get things done on a global stage at the Olympics. There is no way that doesn't play with your mind. There's no way that doesn't affect your ego, even if you don't show it. But how can you combat it? How can you counter it? Be exactly what we witnessed last night. Those look like two incredibly motivated dudes, didn't it? And you would have a variety of reasons as to why that wouldn't be necessary. I mean, hell, you're the champions. What did Rick Carlisle say? He didn't want to see his guys be drunk on the success of a year ago. Well, their success of a year ago did end with a sweep at the hands of those Celtics. So you should times 10. You should magnify the pissiness of how they were dropped a year ago. And then you combine that with Halliburton getting no run, no clock in the Olympics. That's what I expect out of him. I'm not suggesting in a similar scoring fashion, but in an overall game fashion, and especially with more attention to detail on the defensive end. Because you can't be one of the best players in the world and be identified as that bad of a defensive player. And a lot of what you're looking for here, and really a lot of what any of us are looking for, is the effort/recognition on that end that will help out everything. As I mentioned yesterday, this is not this little feel-good, nice story where everybody's happy regardless of the outcome. There are going to be consequences now. Because consequences are created via expectations. And that's this team. 49, 50 wins. What is that, 2 more than a year ago? Top 4 seed. Should that not be the basis of your expectations? That starts coming up later on tonight. Did you know that Tobias Harris, I believe once upon a time Tobias Harris was a part of the Pistons. I think he's back there again. I'd have to look that up. I believe that to be the case. Jaden Ivey, Boilermaker, former Boilermaker. Cade Cunningham. Asar Thompson, the part of this group too. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may ask Kevin. Maybe he remembers. Maybe Jake would have remembered. I forgot to ask him. Or maybe somebody else that covers the Pacers. Was Tobias Harris once upon a time a guy that did not want to come here because he didn't see the present nor the future? Or am I wrong about that? I don't know why I'd be making up something regarding Tobias Harris because I really don't care, and you don't either. But I was thinking about that this morning. Malik Beasley's a part of that. Of course, you saw him with the Bucks off the bench a year ago. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been for the better part of his career, certainly most recently in Dallas. He's a part of this team as well. Now, that's what you got going. Night number 1 for the Pacers tonight. 6:30 your coverage begins. Pat Boylan's going to be right here in this studio, isn't he? Now he's just the voice of the Fever. The voice of the Fever, and he's got your pregame show. 6:30, we'll do some Anything Goes up until that point and time for you. All right, Eddie Gill is going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Kevin Bowen a little bit later on as well. We have Disturbed tickets to give away. I've been going through my closets and such, and I went back. This is not exactly the 1990s, but it was in my 90s drawer. An old X-Fest t-shirt right here. James, do you see the bands on this? Would you like the bands? Disturbed, Orgy,
Okay.
Offspring,
Okay.
and Incubus.
I'm down
All
for
together
pretty
right
much
there.
all of them.
Yeah. This was, I think, in December of 2000 at the Fieldhouse. This was an X103 concert, and I wore this for Nigel, who works on WIBC with Jason Hammer, opposite of me in the afternoon. I wore this for him.
Oh, really?
I found this in my 90s closet. Not that. What's your favorite band here? Disturbed?
Oh, Disturbed. Definitely Disturbed.
Who's
yeah.
second favorite?
Probably Offspring.
Where's Orgy rank right there? Didn't they do a cover of Blue Monday by New Order?
I'll be honest. I actually can't say I know any of their songs.
Orgy. I just like wearing a shirt that says Orgy.
It's a good name.
Yeah. They go, hey, there's John. Yeah, he's going to pick up his, we're going to pick up his kids. Yeah, he's got this shirt that says Orgy on it.
Listen, we all need a good orgy shirt.
No,
time and
James.
time again.
James was a little apprehensive about saying that. I could tell. Just a little bit right there. Yeah, somebody's got to score for a bad team. Yeah, you watched both the Knicks and you watched the T-Wolves last night. Lakers took off. James, you have something else you wanted to add that I just missed?
Oh, no, I've been saying we need to take a break.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention over there. 132-109 Celtics over the Knicks last night. I mentioned Jason Tatum had 37 points in that. Lakers by 7 over the Timberwolves. AD big. 36-16 in that game for the Lakers. So the NBA season officially underway. Pacers and Pistons. That's tonight at 7 o'clock. All right, quick break. I mentioned 2 Disturbed tickets we'll give away before the end of the show, and a lot more for you midweek here on what has been a fantastic weather week to date. 2 road shows tomorrow and Friday. I shall explain that and then some coming up. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio inside the AAA membership lounge. Become a AAA Hoosier Motor Club member today. Always got your back, especially as we start to get into the latter portions of fall and then into winter. Always got your back, 24/7, 365, AAA Hoosier Motor Club. Become a member today. That's the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Joe's Grill, Westfield, coming up tomorrow. Large City Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Sam's Silver Circle. I've heard that the entire Cathedral program is going to show up over there. That's great. Sam's Silver Circle, I believe off of Prospect, right across from that incredibly, awesomely old and small walk-up Dairy Queen location near Fountain Square. That is coming up on Friday. That's a Bud Light Blue Friday. Meantime, Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. We are so glad that he is back. Former NBAer. 82 games on the radio with Mark Boyle, along with all of his other stuff that he's doing over the course of this 24-25 NBA campaign for the Pacers. Eddie Gill joins us as we get started from Detroit later on tonight with the Pacers and the Pistons. Hello, Eddie. How are you?
I'm good. That's pretty good. I don't know if I've ever heard that reference before, but that's pretty good. Detroit.
That's exactly what it is. I'm bummed out that you have to be at that horrible place, whether in the state of Michigan or Detroit. It's all the same.
Oh, my goodness. I will not subscribe to this rhetoric.
Good for you. Good for you. I brought this up at the outset of the show, and Rick Carlisle had mentioned actually a couple of different times. I was there. I showed up on Media Day, and I heard him talk about this as well. Not getting drunk on the success of a year ago. And I thought last night we saw two tremendous examples of elite-level champions, mind you, champions that still found a way to find motivation, whether it's not being a part of the Olympic team or getting no clock on the Olympic team over the summer. Two elite-level players show exactly what I thought Rick Carlisle was talking about and the message he was trying to give to his own players to start this season. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you cannot at all be content with what happened last season. You know, although it was a big step in the right direction, by no means is the job done. You know, you have a great mix of young players, but as well as some veteran players who have had some success, especially at a championship level like Pascal Siakam has. But you cannot fall into the trap of, we made it to the Eastern Conference Final and we've arrived, because the Atlanta Hawks not too long ago was in the Eastern Conference Finals also.
Yeah. Great point. Great point you make right there, too. And when you look at this team, for one, from top to bottom, you're not going to find a better group. I mean, organizationally and on the floor, that is yet another reason why I want to see these guys be able to live up to these lofty expectations. Plus, they're deep down doing what a lot of teams are afraid to do. That is build for the moment, and then also build and be in line to maintain and to grow and to win for the future. Not a lot of teams are able to do that or patient enough to do that. I want to see this work out for the Pacers.
Yeah, as do I. Obviously, this is a team that, over a couple seasons ago really struggled, and there was a process that they committed to and have been able to see it through, and now have a place of relevancy once again in the Eastern Conference, and it's a team that, the last couple seasons hasn't gone into a season with this level of expectations to go out and play at a very competitive level, a playoff type team, and those kind of things. But now the conversations have shifted. I want to see how this team handles success, and I think that's also something else that Rick Carlisle was alluding to in terms of you cannot be content and just drunk off of the success of last season. How do you handle that success, and how do you take another step?
He is Eddie Gill, who joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, Pacer Radio Network. You're still doing TV work too, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, doing pregame and halftime.
My goodness. We're not going to get – we can never get enough of Eddie Gill. You're going to be all over the place.
Hustling hard, yeah. This is the beginning of my 9th season, which is mind-boggling to me, but I'm grateful for the opportunity. The Pacers have been great to me.
That's great.
You're right. The organization has been fantastic.
You're a good dude and certainly deserving of that. I'm curious, what's the greatest asset of this team going into this year, whether it's individually or collectively?
I'm going to go with collectively once again. I think their depth, it proves just about nightly that they can go out and compete at a high level, both with the starting unit and obviously their bench unit. I feel like they were outscoring each bench unit night on a nightly basis almost. But ultimately, their depth. They got to be able to lean on that. They had a lot of players who can go out there and contribute. It'll be interesting to see what Rick Carlisle does with rotations and how deep he goes into those lineups. I think during the regular season, it really helps you, keeps you fresh as you get to the latter part of the season. You have the ability to go into the playoffs if they're fortunate enough to get there again in a fresh state.
So, obviously, we see together Tyrese Halliburton, much like Jason Tatum, no clock whatsoever in the Olympics. I felt all along that it's going to be beneficial for fans and the media covering this team. Maybe not so much for him, because I'm sure his ego, he didn't like it as much as, he certainly was proud of being a part of it. Where does that add to the motivation? Because that's what I mentioned with Tatum in mind. And I know they talked about it last night on the broadcast, and to a lesser degree because Jaylen Brown was not even on it, he probably had a certain motivation. Is that kind of relatable to how we saw Tyrese Halliburton this offseason in Paris, a part of that Olympic team, and certainly how maybe he can improve with that motivation of what we watched last night with those two Celtics in general?
Yeah, I think you use each and every aspect of the game and experiences for motivation, and especially something like that. It's great to be a part of, certainly, but clearly, those guys didn't get to that level by sitting down, right? They know their worth, their value. Jason Tatum has been a MVP candidate for the last couple seasons, coming off of a championship win. And same, Tyrese Halliburton has had a nice level of success, an all-star, and he's really, climbing the ranks in terms of stardom in the league. And when you don't get to play, there's definitely some motivation there, but then also, how do you use it? How do you channel that frustration and disappointment for positive and for good? And you come back hungry and humble and ready to get after it and take a next step in your game, or you kind of just stay in that moment. I tend to believe that he's going to do the same like Jason Tatum did last night in terms of just coming out and proving his worth. How
much of a helper is it for Pascal Siakam now to have been a part of this for a substantial part of the time and not just on the fly learning things? And to a lesser degree, Andrew Nembhard, your expectations for his production, what you're looking at out of him. Actually, both those guys in the starting lineup, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I think Pascal Siakam, there's a certain level of comfort that he's going to have now. There's not trying to get acclimated to the system, defensive calls, and offensive strategies and those types of things. They obviously play fast and really more of a read and react, and they have strategy and structures in place, not so much set calling, but they have a structure in place that he's able to understand at a better level and not necessarily just learn it on the fly. And then Andrew Nembhard, he really took a gigantic step in the right direction last season and had a great summer and playing with Team Canada and that kind of thing. So I'm extremely excited about what he's going to be able to do and again, taking another step with his game.
What's reasonable expectations for this group compared to a year ago? And obviously what is going to be a difficult Eastern Conference in that first eight, or what we visualize in the possibility of being that first eight. What are those reasonable expectations for the Pacers?
I think there's a reasonable expectation to be somewhere around the middle of the pack. You'll obviously, barring any health concerns, this team, there's definitely a playoff team in my eyes and a team that can contend once they get there.
All right. The one thing I did want to ask, too, and I'm going to go to somebody that's played, reasonable expectations as well for Benedict Mathurin, because either you're out there believing he is going to be a tremendously productive wild card off the bench, or this is something that maybe is going to take even more time for him to acclimate. What do you expect from him coming back from that injury?
That's a great one there. I'm uncertain because prior to injury, especially coming off of his rookie season, there was so much talk about, he's going to start, he needs to start, and all those types of things because he was so productive coming off the bench. Then he has the injury. Andrew Nembhard is incredible in the starting lineup and what he was able to do, and obviously was rewarded this summer and now is in the starting lineup. So it'll be interesting to see Benedict Mathurin kind of get back to what we saw maybe in his rookie season, being that scoring punch off the bench. He's clearly a guy who can do that. Love his ability to get to the free throw line, drawing fouls, and want to see him take another step defensively, and then also being able to play off the ball as CJ McConnell has it with that second unit.
Hey, speaking of motivation, how about those Knicks in their home opener coming up after this opener for the Pacers on the road, after that depancing last night on the road in Boston? That should make it even more entertaining. And we thought because they went 7 games and they got depanced themselves by the Pacers in that 7th and final game back in the Eastern Conference semifinals in their own building, there was enough already there. This probably adds a little bit more.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Boston just absolutely obliterated them last night, and clearly with the Pacers knocking the Knicks out of the playoffs last season, there were always going to be some motivation there. And then what happened last night? Now they want to be able to try to make that right. In addition to just the fact that they have a new group to some degree with that big trade. Now they have Karl Anthony Towns there, so he's kind of trying to figure out his role with alongside Jalen Brunson and the rest of the guys. So that'll definitely be a big game in a rowdy environment.
No doubt about that. All right, 82 games on the radio with Mark Boyle and Pat Boylan, and then doing TV as well. He is former NBA or former Pacer Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, congratulations on a job well done, and let's get it started later on tonight. How about that?
Yes, sir. Much appreciated. It feels like we just wrapped up, but super excited to get back after it.
That's the way that it's supposed to feel, though. You don't want it to feel like it because that means you're done in April, and that sucks. You don't want that.
Yeah, that's a long off season for sure.
Hey, enjoy the toilet today as much as you can, okay? Have a great time.
All right. Take care.
So Eddie Gill on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. My goodness. Michigan's bad, but holy crap, Detroit. Is it wrong of me? I visualize Detroit, and I can't help myself, I guess, and this is where it was based on a true story, right? When I watch White Boy Rick, and I go, yeah, that's kind of the Michigan eye. There's Michigan right there in a nutshell with White Boy Rick. Is that unfair judging it that way, you think? Hey, JMV, what do you not like about Michigan? Well, there's one thing I do like. I mean, they got legalized weed. Way to go. However, White Boy Rick, is that where it looks like everywhere? Everybody says, yeah, you got to go to the beach up there. The beaches are great. And I'm thinking, well, I watched White Boy Rick, and I didn't see a damn beach. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. Don't go anywhere. Disturbed tickets as well. We take a break. We'll rejoin you. AAA Hoosier Motor Club Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A ride with JMV.
Sis boom ba. Sis boom ba. Describe the sound made when a sheep explodes.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Disturbed tickets a little bit later on. This is not Disturbed. 5-star shooting guard Braylon Mullins out of Greenfield Central will announce his hoops commitment collegiately coming up later on. I think 6 o'clock tonight. Where's he doing? Is he doing that over at his high school gym in Greenfield, I think, at Greenfield Central? The teams that are in the mix, last check at least, UConn, IU, and Carolina. He, according to 24/7, is the number 16 recruit in the nation. Braylon Mullins makes that decision coming up a little bit later on tonight, probably when we're still on the air with the Colts Daily Update. So we'll stay active in that. Tell you a little bit of something about it. At JMV, your room would be called the JMV Sucks Room, and it would be the bathroom. Thank you. JMV, how about the bathroom? From Jeff. I'm spending a lot of time in there, I do. I'm telling you what. I know it comes with getting old, but it is. I'm to the point now. This is going to be a little crass. Is that okay? I will occasionally be that on this show, but this is just the truth. I get a sensation, James, that I need to urinate as I'm urinating now. I go, wait a minute. I'm not even done with this one yet. All right? Can we just wait a minute? Can I have a break?
Sounds like something you need to go get checked out, maybe.
Hey, wait a minute. I got to go to the bathroom again. I'm not even done with this one yet. Come on.
That's not burning, though, is it?
No burning.
Okay,
sensation.
we're good.
Yeah. And believe me, I'd know. Showalter writes this. This may be as legendary as my Butler prediction 1 year before they played in the Final Four. Now, Showalter can be a good dude. At times he can be, to many, not to me, a pain in the ass. But in this case, he's been on the money. And this is something evidently he set out back in July the 26th to Andy Staples. When IU football is 9-0 with Michigan coming to Bloomington, I'll buy dinner the night before if I can watch the game with you. Now, that's a little odd. But the prediction is what I was going at there. Wait a minute. I was going for the prediction. Clearly, I did not cover prior to reading that the rest of it, but no. No, that would be a really good call right there, Showalter. So, job well done. Could happen. Still a big-time chance that could happen. And you got IU College Game Day coming up on Saturday. 11 a.m. Your coverage begins. Don Fisher will have that for you. John Herrick, Buck Sewer. That's right here coming up on Saturday morning to lead you up to that matchup with the Huskies of Washington. All right, Pacers open later on tonight. That is up in Detroit. We'll go over that a little bit more and some Colts stuff. Jonathan Taylor back in practice. DeForest Buckner's practice window off of IR is now officially open. There's a chance that Taylor plays coming up on Sunday. How big of a chance? We'll discuss that next. Don't go anywhere. Kevin Bowen joins us. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Talk about your Psalms. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Fernando Valenzuela, for most baseball fans that are members of Generation X, and I was not a Dodger fan. They were then in the NL West, and they were a rival of the Reds. Therefore, I was not a big Dodger fan. But even in southwestern rural Indiana, in Greene County, Fernando Mania struck. It was a phenomenon, and it was the baseball equivalent in 1981 of what you're going to see next weekend here with Taylor Swift. It was the baseball equivalent of what you saw in the spring and the summer with Caitlin Clark. Fernando Mania. And even for a time when you did not have the resources, the information, you had a game of the week, you had This Week in Baseball, you had the baseball bunch. That's basically it. And you saw highlights on, the ABC Game of the Week. If you're fortunate enough to have that, NBC, of course, had their Game of the Week on Saturday. But you still could not get out of the way of Fernando Mania. The left-hander from Mexico had a screwball. Listen, we all tried to throw screwballs back. That never could. It just ended up being like a meatball right in the center of the plate that got knocked about 360 feet out to left center field. Everybody tried to throw it. Everybody tried to emulate, to imitate Valenzuela on the mound, his delivery with his eyes that focused in on the underside bill of his cap as he approached the plate with his delivery of the baseball. It was incredible. It really was. Absolutely incredible. That year of 1981 especially, and, that was the last time the Dodgers and the Yankees met in the World Series. He passed away either earlier today, the Dodgers announced, or it may have been late yesterday evening at the age of 63. But he left something for baseball fans, especially baseball fans of my era, even if you were not a Dodgers fan. And you will never forget, if you're my age, Fernando Mania, no matter where you were, if you were a baseball fan. And really, even if you weren't, you probably still caught on as to why it was such a big deal. R.I.P. to Fernando Valenzuela as he passed away at the age of 63. More on that a little bit later on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Kevin Bowen checks in from the morning wake-up call with KB and Andy here on The Fan. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Doing great, John. How are you?
You at all understanding, even somebody that's much outside the generation, the exploits of Fernando Valenzuela as a pitcher, especially in Dodger blue?
Well, sure. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't alive for it, but, as a lover of sports, you've come across that story, and like you said, that mania in that year of 81. It's funny, you talk about mimicking a pitcher, and for me, it was a different Dodgers pitcher. It was Hideo Nomo.
Right.
I love the wind-up of Mr. Nomo, but, it's probably one of the aspects of baseball that's changed the most, John, and, we'll certainly see it probably at some point here. I think it was one of the Dodgers beat writers in the World Series tweeted out what the staff would look like, for each individual game, and, in two of the games, they throw up their bullpen, and it's like, look at what he did in 81, and
yeah,
there was no need for that when he took the mound. It's just astonishing to look back on that season and the amount of complete games and the shutouts. So I thought very, very well said from you there the last couple of minutes.
No, it had and effectiveness. And again, even if it was tough to understand what was going on because you just don't have the resources that you do today, and it still hit as hard, where I'm from, where most people are from, as it would have today. Again, with social media, with all the coverage, it was incredible. It really was.
Yeah, I think that's a good point of it that probably I'm even a little naive with, of like you take some of that stuff for granted, but back then you had to do something crazily impressive to reach all parts of the country, and certainly you look at what he did during that season, and that kind of defied it.
And by the way, too, you imitated the Nomo delivery.
Nomo.
That was the equivalent. We used to imitate Louis Tiant of the Red Sox. So look him up one of these days. Google him and some of his videos, and then you'll understand. We used to do our Louis Tiant.
Yeah, I think every time I bend down to grab one of my children, I think mimicking the Nomo delivery in the backyard on a daily basis for a few years was probably not the smartest move in the world.
Yeah, way that it is, though, but it was fun time, and you're trying to do it. Kevin Bowen's with us. So the window is now open with the return of practice to DeForest Buckner. Get a timetable on that, and I know Jonathan Taylor's back at practice today, and there's a level of expectations for his participation in Houston on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Shane Steichen usually does not utter the phrase of "I feel really good about both of them playing in a game," but he did that today, so I think that is some optimism. Certainly, Shane has practiced a bit of gamesmanship before, but I think there it might be a little different. Buckner, to me, if you were to say, "Hey, a dude's missed 5 games in a row, is he able to practice in a week and be ready?" I'd say no, probably 95% of the time. Buckner would be in the 5%. Plus, they both play a position that, you could pitch count them if you would like them, I guess, to go back to our earlier combo. Buckner was, ironically, he was on a pitch count the game he got hurt. It was for a back injury in that Green Bay game, and then he suffered the ankle injury during the game. So, when you face C.J. Stroud, creating a pass rush is going to be critical. So, could he have a little bit of a third down kind of red zone role? That'll be something I think to keep an eye on. With Taylor, I'm probably a little bit more of the let's talk on Friday. I don't know if it's scar tissue from the 2022 season, but I felt like during that campaign with an ankle injury, albeit not as severe as this one, it just felt like there were a couple of different instances during that year where he practiced a day, maybe even multiple days, and then all of a sudden, late in the week, it would go in a different direction. So that's probably where I paused just a little bit on him. But still, if you listen to Shane Steichen today, he was much more optimistic on both of them than he usually is.
So Kevin Bowen, the morning wake-up call with KB and Andy on the Fan, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fans, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, can we possibly have something to where you just don't give up everything in one facet to take away another, this time defensively? I mean, how many times we got to see that? Whether it's Nico Collins, and then week number 1, it was Joe Mixon. We all got these great ideas of what you want to take away and then get your ass ripped apart by something else, another facet of this Texans offense. Is there a way maybe to cobble something together to where you don't give up so much and ultimately a loss defensively just so you're trying to take something away?
Yeah, it's such a great comment because, yeah, I mean, week 1, it's like, well, we couldn't commit as much to the run because we were committing it to the pass. Okay, well, Mixon goes off for 160. And then it also was the most efficient game C.J. Stroud's had in the entire season.
Yeah, no doubt.
Look what he did. I mean, and when they needed to make critical throws, Nico Collins and him did it. I mean, Stephon Diggs. I mean,
yeah.
You go back, both the Diggs touchdowns, I mean, those were like a deep 3rd and goal and then a 4th and goal. And I would call Diggs pretty darn open on both of those plays. So, yeah, something has got to give in that area. Now, Collins is not playing on Sunday. So, Diggs and Tank Dell, still I think offer a decently potent combo, but, can you have enough in the back end of your defense and then obviously still limit Joe Mixon from, what he was able to do? That was probably the biggest shock to me of the week 1 matchup when these teams met earlier this year was Jonathan Taylor averaging 3 yards per carry and Joe Mixon having a career day. That was stunning, both of them. We're not used to the Colts run defense looking like that. And the last time Taylor had faced Houston, he ran for 180 with Gardner Minshew. And yet with Anthony Richardson next to him, he wasn't able to do that. So, that is, once again, I think, a huge storyline for Sunday.
No, I found the comment, and I've talked about this as well. You want to press the issue on Stroud, and everybody, they put so much pressure, and they sacked him, and they got at him, and he still kicked your ass in the process. I mean, listen, what was he forced into doing things that I'm sure that he wouldn't necessarily like to do? Yeah, but he still got out there and made the play, and you really just kind of invited two different assets in to beat you at home in week number 1 in that case. And also, you look at Gus Bradley, like Nico Collins has been the equivalent of Freddy Krueger, right? This time of year from Nightmare on Elm Street. Is that a part of Gus Bradley's nightmares?
Yeah, I think Nico Collins has made his way on the Colts killer list. And to your point, it's not just one meeting to start this season or one meeting and then last year. He's done it for a few games in a row. And that's where I think I have a little bit more optimism than I think Vegas does right now with the Colts. I was surprised to see it, be right around a touchdown to start the week as an underdog. Because if you want to look at it on paper, the Colts have arguably their two best players back this week. And Houston is without arguably their best player, certainly their best skill player. And then, they're still really thin at linebacker. And that is something, they're missing a couple defensive guys that played in week 1 and had important roles in week 1. So, weirdly, we haven't said this much about the Colts this season. Maybe a few times they've benefited from an opposing quarterback being out, but it looks like on paper the Colts are in a much better personnel state health-wise than the Texans are. The Colts had 9 of their 11 defensive starters practicing today. At times this year it's been more of a half personnel grouping out there. So, again, I think that is kind of siding in the Colts' direction right now.
Kevin Bowen joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Could you make the argument that week 1 matchup was the best that we have seen? I know he had huge, phenomenal chunk plays, 3 in all, but was, argument-wise, that the best game of the season for Richardson?
Oh, yeah.
By a long stretch?
I guess unless you want to call the one quarter against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's the only one I can recollect. Yeah, that one.
Right. Oh. Green Bay and Chicago, I would consider them awful games.
Yeah.
I thought Sunday was really bad. Awful and really bad probably sound like the same exact thing. Green Bay and Chicago, he turned it over a ton, and he gave them, chances to turn it over. I thought Miami, it wasn't maybe as egregious in that area. It still wasn't good. Obviously, put the ball in the turf and gave it up at one point. But, I guess we're parsing out between a D- and a D grade. So, yeah, if you want, optimism there. He was very good against D'Amico Ryans in just a half last year, in that first matchup. That seems like a long, long time ago. So, week 1 was really feast or famine, though, and you kind of brought it up there, John. You had just the insane individual throw to Alec Pierce by Richardson. And then everything really stalled out for a couple quarters. He had the one, remember Kylan Granson stumbled on that interception in the red zone. That ended up being a big play. The Colts really got back in that game via a blocked punt. That was a huge part of them getting back into it. And then in the fourth quarter, boom, he hits another one to Pierce. He throws the frozen rope to Ashton Doolin, and he kind of runs his way into the end zone there to try and create some late game heroics there. So it was still a bit of the, again, feast or famine element, which we've seen far too often here.
I hope the one of one, I should say here, quote, doesn't come back to haunt here. You know what I mean? Not that that's big of a deal. Hopefully he plays up to that being one of one. But that's a tough one right now.
And I kind of disagreed with Andy a little bit, and just on Monday in terms of kind of splicing that out. I thought the question was pretty specific and talking about him as a runner and getting out of bounds. And I think Richardson still has this ingrained in him of when he hyped himself up for the combine. I know you had the sports arousal to C.J. Stroud's ball placement specialist.
Yes.
And boy, did he show it on the Nico Collins throw to ice the game week 1. I think. Because I remember, I think it was literally Richardson and Stroud went back-to-back at the Combine that year talking. Richardson made the one-of-one comment. And I think, I think some of that can be just agent-driven of hey, hype yourself up. Teams want their quarterbacks to be cocky, confident, however you want to parse it out. And so I think in Richardson's way, he's saying when I'm 1 of 1, if I'm 6'4" and 240 and can run 4.4 and can throw it 60 yards. Now, someone else would also say, well, when you say you're 1 of 1 right now, it means you're a 48% passer that leads the NFL in interception rate, and that'd be true too.
They say you're 1 of 1 in practice too. Yeah, you're 1 of 1 in practice so far.
Right. So that's
just
where, that phrase, I understand why that could probably be left on the back burner.
Yeah. We shall see. Have you made it a point at all to create any evaluation for him, even though we all know that there's still a long way to go? A lot of time here, but when you do think about it, we're kind of put into a situation where we do, on the fly, have to evaluate. Have you allowed yourself to do that yet with him?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get a little bit deeper into the semester. I think his welcome week and his orientation and his, time to party was a little bit deeper than other young quarterbacks. But, midway through year 2, I mean, the clock is starting to move a little faster. I don't think it's, what it will be at midway point of next season. Again, the first financial decision on Richardson comes after next season. That's when you have to make the first call. And so that's when I think certainly the evaluation is very microscope and very critical. And, again, if you want to play the optimistic card of young quarterbacks of Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, guys who had struggling rookie and first seasons, they started to turn things around kind of right now. Allen maybe a little bit more after his full rookie season ended, but that's when they started to turn things around. And with Richardson, the arrow is going in the opposite direction. It's not even a straight line right now. It's going down. So, yeah, I do think, look at Sunday, John, for example. He's going to see an NFL defense for the second time in a season for the first time in his career.
That's crazy. That's a crazy stat.
He hasn't played a division opponent a second time. So it's only the third road start of his NFL career. Like, all of that is just weird and odd. So, yes, to answer it, I think, again, I've always viewed it as a 3-year evaluation for the Colts, and it's the midway point of year 2. So, yeah, how can it not start to be viewed in a little bit more of a critical eye, or certainly in a bit of a, hey, the arrow's got to flip a bit. Like, again, it is pointing in a downward direction right now. Can it at least get to where it was, as a rookie? Because right now he has really not played close to even that level, and some would argue that level wasn't, great. I think it was fine for a rookie year with a guy of that inexperienced level of college, but yeah, some things need to change.
Hey, Kev, obviously he didn't have a great afternoon, that being Shane Steichen, and he owned that after the game. But is he also going to wear the exploits of his quarterback? Is he always going to follow this sword, or is that just in the now? Or is that something that you think will change as he grows older as a head coach?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't see it changing too much. I'm trying to go back to his comments about Matt Gay from earlier in the year, and I felt like the most aggressive statement he had was, we need to kick the ball better. So he's always going to throw in that pronoun of.
It's not like Brian Callahan's coaching up the Colts right now, is it? Yeah.
No.
Brian Callahan would be all over Richardson, I would assume, by now, would he not?
Sure. Or, again, Gerard Mayo calling the Patriots soft. Yeah. It's probably not going to be a Shane Steichen MO. And I do think, he literally said the phrase, I need to be better. I think it was 9 times in the first 6 questions Sunday after the game. And I guess this kind of gets back to a little bit of, you asked me, what has been Richardson's best game this season? And I kind of said Miami wasn't as bad as Chicago and Green Bay. I do think some of it does fall on Steichen. Like, I could not believe how many just free blitzers Miami had all afternoon long, free rushers. And again, I think some of that is on coaching, and certainly I think some of that is, you want your quarterback and your protection to identify that a little bit better. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to get, Rick Carlisle, I think, would be much more comfortable, kind of singling out some guys, just some individuals. I just don't think that's part of Steichen at all, really.
All right, Kev, we got the Pacers starting later on tonight. 6:30 your coverage begins here on The Fan. What's the reasonable level of expectations? I said around 50 wins and a 4 spot in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. Is that too high?
No, I am right there with you. I am a home court in round 1. I think preferably after watching Boston last night, it would be in the 2 or 3 seed to avoid them as far as you can. But yes, I would say hovering right around that 50 win and then getting home court. And really, because if you get into playoff series and the right bill of health is there for a Philadelphia or a Milwaukee, I still worry about them in a 7-game series. But over 82 nights, like if you ask me right now who's going to have a better record this season, Pacers, Sixers, or Bucks, I would say the Pacers. Like I just think 82 nights out of the year, they're going to be healthier. Their depth is better. They're not as reliant on 1 or 2 players. I'm pretty sure Embiid's already been out or ruled out for Sunday. I don't know if it's official yet, but I thought I saw that. Chris Middleton's out.
He's getting investigated. The Sixers are getting investigated, too, according to Shams, about this whole back-to-back and not playing and playing stuff. So, yeah, you got that and Paul George. I would agree with you on the Philly thing, and that was the leapfrog into the top 4 for me and why Philly shouldn't be up there, and they should.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I still think, this conversation in Orlando or Cleveland right now would have, those fan bases, a little bit more optimistic too. So I don't want to act like it's just, Boston, Philly, and Milwaukee. Obviously New York looked terrible last night, but you would expect them to be up there. But again, they're a little, it's just wild when you watch like New York, for example, some of those guys getting the games last night, man, and think, gosh, they're the annual OG Anunoby hamstring away from like Miles McBride's a can't-lose player for him. And I just think if Halliburton or Siakam goes down, obviously it's not great, it's not ideal, but it's not DEFCON like it is for some of these other teams. So I think the Pacers are really, really equipped to handle 82 games well. Playoff series, that can be a different combo, but getting a top 4 seed, I think that should be the definite goal.
Yeah, the toughness I think is going to be something with what they gave up and what they brought in, and not so much with Bridges with the Knicks, but Karl Anthony Towns is a guy that normally can score, and you didn't see him doing much of it last night. You just kind of wonder how that all is going to go down. It just kind of felt like that what they had last year, what they were rolling with, was more of a Tom Thibodeau type of team than this one looks like. But again, very early. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, losing Hartenstein, I know he was so pivotal in that Pacers series. So, again, maybe we're a little biased here, but, that's something. I don't know, Karl Anthony Towns just doesn't scream Tibbs, and, maybe offensively they'll be gifted enough it won't matter. So, I can't wait, though. I know how much you love basketball.
Love basketball.
And the fact that it's here, and, college is about to start as well. Yeah, it's certainly one of my favorite times of the year.
Kev, I tried really hard not to get a little pissy about the Pacer preseason because I thought there was some jacking around going on here. I didn't like it. I tried really hard because offensively it wasn't great, kind of discombobulated, and it was like a step and a half left and a step and a half right defensively and then a give up. I didn't like that at all either. But I tried to understand that it was simply preseason.
I think I was driving in one morning. I'm like, man, I'm going to rip the Pacers today. That preseason effort really pissed me off. And then all of a sudden someone was like, I think it was like a birdie. Someone's like, hey, what do you ever remember about past Pacers preseasons? And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, somebody asked me that, too. But we live in the moment, though, Kev. I mean, what you watched last night.
Like, can we just call it like it was a bad preseason? Now, clearly, I'm still optimistic about the team in the regular season. But, yeah, it was just both ends of the floor, too. It's not like they were, scoring 60 and giving up 65. I mean, they had I think they had a first half of the starters of under 50. I mean, in today's NBA, that doesn't happen very often. So, yeah, I am, Tyrese Halliburton threw out the very short answer of, we'll be ready Wednesday. He didn't want to give it much credence. I guess he's earned a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but it's early schedule. I mean, 10 of your first 16 on the road and all your home games are against playoff teams. So it's not going to be layup central here.
Hey, can I tell you something? I was washing my hands in the bathroom on Sunday in the press box, and when you were watching you were watching your phone and taking a whiz at the same time, you made the two dudes around you feel really uncomfortable.
think I was just checking my fantasy team. At least I hope I didn't.
There was no comfort going on with those at the urinal stick because you're right there in the middle, and that was.
Yeah.
I looked back in the mirror, and these two dudes are kind of side eyeing you, going, "Well, wait a minute, what's this guy doing with his phone over the urinal here?"
Yeah, it's so funny because, I mean, we're in the same bathroom as, like, you know, the important Dolphins personnel and the important Colts personnel. I'm always like, here I am, you know, wondering if I should start, you know, Tank Dell for my 4 o'clock game, and these guys are freaking out over their jobs right now of what's going to happen in the second half. Okay, yeah, I'll have better phone etiquette next time.
Yeah, life does change a little bit, right, with the team that you cover when one of their higher-ups or the general manager goes back stalling it during the game right there with you. In the same room. That is a little changing.
Yeah.
That's happened a number of times with Bill Polian, with me in there back in the day. You know, I run in, you know, it's always really fun when I run into Ballard in there, as you can imagine.
I was gonna say, I've run into him a time or two, and obviously the conversation's pretty minimal there.
Not very.
You talk about emotional human being watching the games. I thought Ryan Grigson was pretty emotional. Ballard takes it to another level.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that if he takes too many breaths at once, that maybe a button will pop off or something. Because that shirt's a lot extra tight working. And by the way, Greg Doyle backstalled it, so I had to wait going in there too. That's another thing I noticed. I go, I'm going to have to wait on this. We got somebody in the backstall right here.
Well, we're giving a couple of media acknowledgments. I do want to give a shout-out to the legend that is Mike Chappell, the Colts name in the media room. After him today, I know you love Chap as much as I. He is as great of a reporter as he is a human. I sit next to him at every home game. I love that man. He has meant so much to me in my job, and honestly, someone I not only want to emulate professionally, but as a husband, as a dad, he is the best. So awesome job by the Colts in honoring him today and doing it in a very surprise fashion. So it was cool to see.
Shout out to Mike Chappell, too. And by the way, I think every creeper that ever tried to videotape in a dude's bathroom with their phone probably also said he was checking, quote, he was checking his fantasy team. Kev, good to hear from you, buddy. Have a great rest of the week.
All right, John. See ya.
It's Kevin Bowen, the morning wake-up call with KV and Andy, 93.5 and 107. I'm just checking my fantasy team. I'm not rolling tape here whatsoever. Quick one, back with you next.
JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pacers start the season later on tonight. 6:30, Pat Boylan, Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill from Detroit. It is night number one of the Pacer campaign. By the way, their home opener is coming up on Sunday against Philly, and doesn't look like Joel Embiid will be participating. Paul George either. Paul George, of course, a new acquisition of the offseason for the Sixers. I think the Sixers are being investigated, too, at this point in time by how they're handling stuff injury-wise, dates off, all that junk. So, ton going on right now. Pacers and Pistons, they're in New York for the home opener for the Knicks, who got dismantled at the hands of the defending champions last night in Boston. Knicks, Pacers. Friday night, I believe, is that game, right? Friday night? Knicks and Pacers. Let's check that out and make sure we're accurate about that. Yeah, Joe's Grill coming up tomorrow in Westfield. Can't wait to see you guys up there. Going to be a loaded show for you. JMV, instead of a room, how about a sink? It would be the JMV Hogwash sink. Hey, I'd go for a sink. Toilet, urinal. I'm good with it all. Thank you, Dave, for that. JMV, we're so lucky to have experienced MLB players like Pete Rose, Louis Tiant, Fernando Valenzuela. I personally like to emulate Al Hrabosky, yes, the mad Hungarian back in the day. No social media, no sports talk radio. How did we ever survive? Seriously, we mentioned 1981 and Fernando Mania. You got it all from the NBC Game of the Week, from the ABC Monday night Major League Baseball Game of the Week, and with Mel Allen narrating the greatest, arguably the greatest sports show of all time, but certainly the greatest baseball show of all time, This Week in Baseball. And if James were able to play the end theme, the outgoing theme of This Week in Baseball, I would have to automatically get up and do whatever I'm doing, running or batting or throwing. Anybody from Generation X would be doing it all in slow motion. I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. You got it? Wait a minute. This is a sports arousal for me right here. Oh. You cannot tell me this is not the best. Is this the longer version or the short version right here? There's a long version and a short version.
It just says it's the closing credits.
Gotta love the closing credits. Everything you did in slow motion. And I was not the only one doing that in my living room at the time. No way. Yeah, that's good stuff. Mentioned the life and the career and the incredible 81 Fernando Mania season of Fernando Valenzuela, who passed away last night at the age of 63. 20-year-old rookie in 1981. 35 scoreless inning streak. All-Star Game starter, Cy Young winner, Rookie of the Year, World Series title. Fernando Mania. Charles says, I saw the mad Hungarian pitch against the Indians at Old Busch Stadium. That's awesome. You guys are all going in slow motion now that James played that for us. But now, Damon, to get back to your original point, yeah, we were lucky. Those were fun times right there. Joe Carter asked this, and I have not heard. James can check once again, but any news on the guest picker Saturday, or did I miss it? I have not seen it. Down in Bloomington. I don't know when they normally make that announcement. The guest picker for Washington and IU College game day. JMV, is that a sports arousal, or are you, like Kevin Bowen, just checking your fantasy team? I don't know about anybody else. I couldn't have understood. I was at the bathroom sink in the press box. This is how this went down. If you were privy to the story I was telling Kevin Bowen a little bit earlier, I was in the bathroom in the press box. I was washing my hands, and Kevin was in. There are 3 urinals, stand up. Kevin was in the middle, and Kev had his phone up. I thought he was watching the game on his phone, but the two dudes on either side of him, and I just saw the reflection in the mirror there, you could tell that they were incredibly uncomfortable about what was going on between them. They were very uncomfortable about the phone being up in that fashion with Kevin Bowen. I just wanted to pass that along. Yeah, the famous last words for any creeper is, I was checking my fantasy team. Yeah. Ben writes this, the Twib notes, this week in baseball notes, the best, like baseball Twitter 40 years before Twitter, indeed. Mel Allen saying, this week in baseball. So good. That's it for now. I'm Mel Allen for this week in baseball. And that's how you got updated back then. That's how you knew even more about Fernando Manny. It was an amazing time. Greg says, Bowen broke about every men's restroom rule in existence by doing that. He did. So I wanted to tell him. I probably should have told him privately, but I chose to tell him publicly. You can't go in and hold your phone above the urinals while that can't happen. All right, Jim's at 239-1070. Jim, welcome to the show.
How you doing, JMV?
Jim, I'm fantastic. Thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to give a little shout-out to the Pacemates. My youngest granddaughter was in dance from the time she's 5 years old. She's an IU grad, and she tried out for the Pacemates, and God love her, she made the squad.
That is awesome. Congratulations to your youngest granddaughter. That's fantastic.
I am one proud grandpa.
You get to go to all these games, and you're really going to pay attention even when there's a timeout happening.
Probably not.
You'll see some video, though, so that's good.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, congratulations to your youngest granddaughter, Jim. That's outstanding.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you on your weight loss. And
thank you. That's very kind, Jim.
Yeah.
43 is where I stand right now. 43.
Myself, I was a functioning alcoholic ever since I got back from Vietnam, and I threw it away, and I haven't had a drink in about 16 months.
Well done. Keep it up, Jim.
I will.
Very proud. Very proud of you.
I got to do it for my wife. She's we've been married almost 40 years, and she is my whole life.
Well, hey, keep up the great work, Jim, man. We're happy for you, buddy, on a couple of different fronts right there. Thank you for the call and sharing.
You do the same, and you be safe, my friend.
You got it. Thank you, Jim. That is great news from Jim right there. I love to hear that. Yeah, 43 with premier weight loss. I was playing hoop last night going, my body at 54, it's one thing to be able to run like I did 20 years ago, but other parts of my body's going, hey, we're not used to this. What's that? What the hell's going on here? Who's driving this car? Who's behind the wheel now of this? So I don't think the rest of my body is going to have some upgrades too. I mean, I think I'm going to have to start lifting or something. I don't know. I just come away sore now. I go, wow, I'm running too much. Like body parts are moving that haven't moved in a while. But now it's been fantastic. If you're thinking about doing it, I would suggest do it. That's Premier Weight Loss. And my friend Thomas, I'm down 43 as it stands. I'm going to see. My goal is to be at $1.75 by Christmas. And as of right now, I think I'm at 199, so I should be able to make it, I would think. We'll see where we go. But if you want any advice on that or want me to introduce you to Thomas and the gang, just let me know. I know a lot of you have. But it has been a fantastic and incredibly short journey so far because I was down 41 in less than 4 months. And obviously a lot of that also is with the diet routine. But feeling good. If you're on hold, I'll get back to you on the other side. Pacers open up the season in Detroit later on tonight. 6:30 coverage begins right here. James Boyd of The Athletic in the 5 o'clock hour. We got Disturbed tickets to give away coming up as well, and some Anything Goes after 6 tonight on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James Boyd of The Athletic, 5 o'clock hour. Disturbed tickets we'll give away coming up as well. What the hell is this? In what world does JMV think it's okay for a head coach to call out the basically rookie quarterback? Second time he's said it this week. Absolutely nuts. What did I say? Call out. I just don't think, and I've mentioned this, and this is more, I think, of a pat on the back to Anthony Richardson. I think he's a dude that can handle criticism. So you think you got to wrap him up in a glass case all the time? I got news for you. It's a big, bad world out there. It's going to happen at some point. I just think he's a dude that can handle it. The hell's nuts about that? I would rather him handle it right now, especially with the feeling that he can. I'm not suggesting you say, well, you're just really awful, but I don't think you have to consistently take the blame yourself. Because it's not like people don't see it. Not like the teammates. They see it. Yeah, I guess there's just some dudes out there that want to keep this guy in bubble wrap, both for on the field and then off of it, and I don't understand it. I don't get that. But soft touch, I guess. But listen, understand, I'm not suggesting you yell at the dude and browbeat him. But I don't think that you can constantly, I don't think it's necessary to take the blame. And that's probably more of what I'm going to get a compliment to the young guy himself, to the 22-year-old, because I think he's fine in taking it. I don't think you have to handle it that way. What's absolutely nuts about that? I mean, first of all, dude, come on. Change your account up here. Destin Adams, Colts, Justin, you got a mixture of dudes that have been on social media in and out for, come on, man. He'll be okay to take it. Constructive criticism in any world is okay. Have you taken it? Anybody else take it? And I know that it's a different public forum, but get used to it. Most games are always going to be described on the shoulder of the quarterback. And if you're going to learn some things playing that position in the NFL, I don't think it's beyond the realm to understand that you should be learning that. What the hell's wrong with it? You're going to learn something, but make sure that I take the blame for everything. One of these days, you're going to take the blame for everything, and then we're all going to buy it and go, well, maybe you're not a good enough coach. You keep creating all these issues. Maybe this is on you. Maybe the lack of development. Maybe the lack of winning. Maybe where you are right now is on you, when in actuality it isn't. I just don't think that it's inaccurate to say, hey, missed on that. And I think Shane's good enough to, mix it up a little bit to where your quarterback's not completely taking the fall. Plus, I just don't think Anthony Richardson would take it that way. I think he's strong enough, and that's a compliment. Whatever. Keep him in bubble wrap, both on the field and to make sure, so you keep on this whole thing of, well, we really don't know. We've got to experience it. You've got to see it. Meantime, fans keep coming in and wonder when you're going to experience it. How much longer do you have to stink and wait on this? Listen, it's not the biggest of deals, and I gather that. And that's just who Shane Steichen is. I just don't think, twofold, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary for him to do it. I don't think it's necessary to do it to his young quarterback, who I think is just fine. And again, that's a compliment to being able to take criticism in a position that is easily the most criticized across the board in any sport. At some point, you will have to get used to it. Quick break, we'll come back. James Boyd on the other side. Disturbed tickets on the other side. I don't want you going anyplace. There's really no reason to. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
I don't know what the hell's in there. It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
And the show tomorrow is going to be in Westfield at Joe's Grill. Cannot wait to see you there. Week 8, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, the Romanak brothers, Jim and Mike. And a quick shout to our friend Brent Halverson, who is getting healthier by the day, which is a good deal. He will be back. I believe Miller and Nally, the Ryans, will be there with us as well. All that coming up on tomorrow's show. We're in Westfield at Joe's Grill. Friday, by the way, it's a Bud Light Blue Friday. We're going to be at Sam's Silver Circle. That's near Fountain Square, right there off of Prospect. That is on Friday. Bud Light Blue Friday at Sam's Silver Circle. Should be a blast. I think we have Bills Colts tickets coming up on Friday for you. Again, at Sam's Silver Circle. Bud Light Blue Friday, tomorrow, Westfield location of Joe's Grill with our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. It is a new season for the Pacers tonight. 6:30 coverage begins, follows, anything goes. You got Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill, and our good friend Pat Boylan will be here in studio. Night number 1 finds the Pacers in Detroit. That tip time is at 7 o'clock. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from The Athletic, a friend of the show, much like me, digs on playing some pickup basketball. James Boyd is with us. When's the last time you got together with a group and played?
I want to say I played last Thursday morning. Yeah. I usually go Thursday morning to the Ursay YMCA. Was supposed to go tonight. Looks like I got some work I got to do, unfortunately. But, yeah, I try to get it in once, twice a week.
What's the competition level like at the Ursay Y?
In the morning, it's pretty good because everyone has a job, so they're not there to fight or argue with you. So
yeah,
it's pretty good. A bunch of grown men, some guys that can shoot. They play defense, and so I like that because it's not a bunch of cherry picking and lazy basketball.
So are you saying in the afternoon or the evening you get dudes there, they're kind of butthole-ish a little bit?
Yeah, they're ridiculous human beings is how I would describe it. Definitely. No. They're talented. It's just a lot of testosterone and a lot of misguided conceptions about their level of play because in my mind, I'm like, look, I'm around pros every day of my life these days, so you're not as good as you think you are if you pay the same money that I do to get in here. So that's my hot take.
No, man, I would agree with you in the mornings. And you go with the people that you don't have to hear junk. More than likely, you don't have to hear junk, and you know that know how to play, and you won't come away injured from it, too.
There you go.
Thing, so, big deal. Hey, Pacer season starts later on tonight. Level of expectations, certainly high. Where would you place a reasonable amount of wins and a finish this year for the Pacers in the East?
That's a great question. I would put them, if they can get to maybe 45 wins this season and say they're in the 6th seed, they're not in the play-in, I think that'd be a good season for them, quite honestly. I know some people might think that they should be better or they'll be worse according to a lot of different outlets, but I think 45 wins is a solid number for a team that didn't make a lot of changes throughout the offseason and is obviously going to be in a pretty good conference considering that you still have Boston, you got Philly, you got the Knicks and other teams that'll be vying for some of those top spots as well.
I had
the Bucks too.
Yeah, I say 49 and a 4 seed, and that may be a little bit too lofty, but I think that from top to bottom with the depth in again an era now where either injury or, making sure your health is maintained on back-to-backs or sitting guys like what Philadelphia is doing right now, for example. That's why I would jump the Pacers over Philly in those expectations because there's going to be way too much time missed by those frontline guys. So that's my expectation, lofty or not.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I had to give a bold prediction the other day over The Athletic. I don't think we ended up using it, but my bold prediction was that, if I'm thinking bold and realistic, the Pacers go out there and win 50 games. I believe the last time they made it to a back-to-back appearance in the conference finals, they had won 50 games that second year in a row. So we'll see if they're able to do it. But I do think that, this is a team with high expectations, and they should have them. And I do think what helps them is that they haven't changed much. Similar to Boston, their core, their top guys is pretty much the same, where I do think that for the Sixers and for the Knicks, and even to some degree the Bucks, they still have to kind of figure out what their roles are going to be. With the Pacers, none of that stuff has to happen. They know who they are. Talked to Tyrese Halliburton about 2 weeks ago at this point, and he told me, hey, the best part about this team is that this is for the first time in my career I've had this much continuity, with coaching staff, players, and things like that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of truth to that. That's exactly how they want to approach it. And I've mentioned this before. Some teams are close to it. I mean, Denver's in the ballpark of building and playing their own, and in Minnesota in the same light. But I don't think anybody's doing it quite like the Pacers are. They're basically saying, this is our dudes, this is who we brought in here. And I really want to see that work for the now and the effect that hopefully production-wise it has on their future with growth from this young group too.
Absolutely. I think we talk about growth. The biggest growth we're all going to look at is Benedict Mathurin. How do you fit in? Can you help elevate this team? Because they didn't go out and get some big-name free agent. They didn't go out and spend a bunch of money. They didn't make a huge trade. They pretty much done all their heavy lifting as far as team building has gone the last few years with these in-season trades. And now, if you're looking for something to elevate them and push them over the top, it's going to be in-house, and it has to be Benedict Mathurin, in my opinion. So he's talked a lot throughout the preseason, over the offseason, about how much better he's gotten and how hungry he is. And I know his mentality. He's a killer, as I describe it. And so I'm excited to see him get back in action. And also, again, just see how he fits. And then when they need that scoring punch, one-on-one, ability, how much that can help them when they get in spots. Similar to last year where they just couldn't finish some of these games because they just didn't have a guy who will get them a bucket.
Yeah, the killer mentality I love, but I think that's equal to what he has, the fit-in mentality that you also talk about too, because he's a guy that he wants the ball, he wants to be the guy, but it's not necessary all the time for him to do that. You pick and choose those moments and you fit in with that mentality. I think that's what you should be hoping for as far as Benedict Mathurin is concerned this season.
Absolutely. I mean, this is about maturity. It's not about talent. Like, we know you can play. You know you can go out there and score, but can you do things to help your team? And quite frankly, he's a ball-dominant guy. I do think that's in his nature to be, the guy with the ball in his hands, the guy that makes plays. He's probably been that guy for most of his career throughout his life. But now you're on a team where you have one of the best offensive players in the league as your lead guard in Tyrese Halliburton, and no one on earth is going to take the ball out of his hands more often than not to put it in yours. And so you have to figure out, how do I play quick? How do I play fast? How do I play efficient next to someone who's going to be the hub of our team? So I do think that Benedict has a lot to learn, a lot to grow, throughout this season. But again, I look at it like, if you're either going to, embrace it, or looking at that in-season trade deadline, could you be somebody they move to kind of give some punch to this team? So we'll see.
Yeah, James Boyd of The Athletics on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline will cover the Pacers, but most of the time he is covering the Colts. They go to Houston coming up on Sunday with a great opportunity, I shall say. But a lot of things have to happen much differently than what transpired at Lucas Oil Stadium in week number 1. But let's start here. One thing that we all want to see is the return of Jonathan Taylor. It was a feel-good from Shane Steichen today about that possibility. What do you think?
I don't know what I think with Jonathan Taylor, to be honest. We talk to him every week about his ankle, or the last few weeks about his ankle, and it's hard to glean information from him that you might deem truthful or vague or whatever. So I'm just of the mindset, if he's out there, he's out there. But I will say him practicing is a step in the right direction. And I would have to imagine, barring some major setback or something, that he would be out there in some capacity on Sunday, just because why would you practice if you're not going to play, especially if you just haven't practiced at all the last few weeks. He was limited today, so I'll keep an eye on that. But if he gets, close to that full designation, we'll be surprised to see him back out there. But again, I just can't go based off what he says, because what he says, to be quite honest, doesn't always make a lot of sense. You ask the guy if his ankle's bothering him, and he tells you it's feeling better, and I'm like, okay, that's a good thing. And then he's not out there, so we'll have to just wait and see.
It's a season of one-score games so far, and at least a game above 500 are the Colts. And It was tight. They were right there against Houston in week number 1, certainly. Outside of what we already know, Joe Mixon just ripping them apart, what else needs to change for the better in this road environment for them to be able to compete at that level like they did in week number 1 and possibly come away with a road win?
I think it comes down to the defensive backs. I think Sam Womack has really come on for this team. He's played really well. I think he's only given up like 4 catches on 13 targets this season. So he's played at a high level. But, again, the last 2 games you're facing quarterbacks who just, quite frankly, aren't good. Will Levis is not a good quarterback in the NFL right now. Snoop Huntley is not a good quarterback. He's a backup. Tim Boyle, who replaced him, he's not a good quarterback. So now you're going to get into the stretch of the season where you're facing some guys who can really play and have played at a high level, if not this season, at least throughout their career. I know you got C.J. Stroud coming up. You also have, Sam Darnold coming up, who, again, didn't have a great career coming into this year, but is having a career year. You have Josh Allen on the schedule. You have, I get it, the Jets stink, but you also have Aaron Rodgers. So I think that this defensive back group could show us some things or sort of prove themselves against Houston this upcoming Sunday, especially after how they kind of got burned last time. If you remember, it was a throw down the sideline to Nico Collins, who won't play in Sunday's game. He's on IR right now. But it was a throw down the sideline that kind of did them in at the end of that game. So I'm excited to see if Sam Womack is for real. I want to see if Jalen Jones can continue to show some things that he's shown. And, Nick Cross and Julian Blackman and others.
It's James Boyd of the Athletics on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I take a lot of things away from that game, and one is how Gus Bradley decided to play it, where basically he put the pressure on Stroud, and there was pressure there, but he performed at a very high level even with that pressure. They ended up losing, but you gave so much away to Joe Mixon on the ground. How likely will they change that up compared to how they approach that defensively in week number 1?
I'm not sure, because I do think that you have to bring pressure on C.J. Stroud. You can't let him sit back there and have all day to throw. Obviously, you would hope for the DeForest Buckner return. I know he played in the week 1 game. He's been out a few weeks. You hope that his return this week could help that defensive line group kind of get to C.J. Stroud. But I don't think it'll change all that much, their approach. I know that you kind of have to look at Houston as a team that can run the ball. They've actually run the ball a lot better this year than last year, or at least in some of these games that we've seen. So I do think that, there's going to be some give and take. But at the end of the day, I think with great quarterbacks, you have to bring some pressure. You can't let them get back there and get comfortable. And look, if you get ran over again by Joe Mixon, I think that says a lot about, your front seven more so than your defensive game plan. Because at the end of the day, you got to tackle people, which the Colts, have gotten a little bit better at, I would say, the last few weeks. Again, they haven't faced great offenses. And this is a chance to kind of prove that you're for real. I asked Zaire Franklin that, and he was like, hey, I think our team has kind of shown who we are. And I'm like, okay, that's, in my mind, that's both good and bad this year. So, again, when you're facing better teams, you're going to show us who you really are. And that test comes Sunday for sure.
All right, James, David Njoku is a tight end with the Browns. They're having an awful season right now, and the Colts got lumped into the possibility of having interest in his services here via the trade moving forward. You buy into any of that, and obviously it's just social media stuff, which happens all the time, but it's certainly a position where they would like to see a much higher level of production. Do you buy any of the online stuff?
Nope, not at all. Mainly because during Chris Ballard's 8-year tenure here as GM, he's only made one in-season trade, and that was Nyheim Hines, who more or less requested to be moved. So that lets you kind of know how the Colts think. They're a very conservative team. It's a trade deadline, so I wouldn't expect that to happen, especially in a season where you still have a question mark at quarterback. I don't know many teams that will make a lot of moves given – you have to kind of figure out who you got at quarterback and is he good. So I would tell most Colts fans out there, while it's cool to, dream a little bit, you got to wake up a little bit at some point.
Well, and see, my follow-up was going to be to that. You don't really know. I mean, I guess you kind of know the impact of that position group, but still, if you're trying to work in as best you can, I'll give you a great example. If Flacco were the full-time quarterback, I think you investigate that. But if it's Richardson still on the learn process right now, you don't. Does that make sense?
That's where I'm at. I think that you want to figure out what you got, and you built your team at this point for the long haul. So after you've made those investments in that team, I just don't think that it's smart to invest even more when, again, you just haven't seen what you have in Anthony Richardson. You might think that he's one thing. You might believe he can become one thing. But to be quite frank, he has not shown he can be a good quarterback or a great quarterback in this league so far. Honestly, he has to show us he can just stay out there. And so that, to me, is like the biggest takeaway from this season is what do you make of Anthony Richardson? You don't know yet, so you got to kind of wait and see.
Hey, James, the next 5 incredibly tough, both on the road and at home for the Colts coming up here. How many wins do you think they need to come away with to stay within reach of competition for the possibility to make the postseason? Because this seems like it's a very important stretch of the season, no doubt. What do they have to do during this 5-gamer to stay within contact?
That's a great question. I would say 3. Win 3 of them.
Man, I don't know if I see that. I don't know if I see that.
I mean, I don't know if I see it either, to be quite honest with you, but you're making the playoffs.
No, you're right.
You got to beat some good teams. And so I think that, the Jets, you should probably go out there and beat them. They're not a good team right now. And then you look at some of these other games as potential steals is kind of how I look at it. Or not even steals. If you think you're as good as you say, again, talking to some of the guys in the locker room, they believe they can get to the playoffs still, then you got to beat other playoff teams from last season.
Yeah, I this is such a tough stretch. Like I initially said 2, but you really don't know what the back end of this thing is going to look like, and you also don't know, even in the winnable games that we kind of eyeball right now, it's not like you can completely trust them anyway, right? But just seems like that this would be incredibly difficult 5-game stretch to squeeze 3. If they squeeze out 3, I think everybody around here will be absolutely thrilled.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I tell people all the time, winning has never hurt my profession at all. But I do think that there is a possibility to go out there and win some games and kind of prove yourself. And, perhaps Minnesota's that type of game. And perhaps, again, the Jets is a game like that. Or even, some of these teams that are pretty familiar with, and being Houston. So I'm excited about it. The NFL is weird. That's why I like the league so much. It's that you can look at these things on paper and say, oh, this team has no chance or whatever. But every week it seems like every game goes down to the last possession anyways. And then for the Colts, that's been the case all year. Well, they haven't really been overmatched in any game. It's just a matter of can they finish the game. And so we'll see starting Sunday if that's the case.
Yes, James Boyd of The Athletic on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The practice window off of IR has opened up for DeForest Buckner. Got a time frame for that one?
We do not have a time frame for that one, but DeForest Buckner is one of the toughest guys I know as far as on the team, and I do think that with him practicing, he practices with the intent to play. So we'll hear more throughout the week, but he's someone I just can't, envision, being activated and they wait forever to play him. I think that he's excited, kind of ready to go. I don't know if you saw he brought the Oregon Duck or made Tyquan Lewis wear the Oregon Duck.
I saw that, yeah.
As a bet and a prank earlier. And I'm thinking, okay, if he's walking in here, pepping his step and having all these jokes and laughs, I'm pretty sure he's excited to get out there and compete too. So I would not be surprised if he's out there Sunday. And I'll probably lean more towards that just because they've given him so much time. They could have brought him back last week, and they gave him an extra week to get ready to go out there and play.
Two-parter for you right here. The health of EJ Speed, and after watching Grant Stewart accomplish what he did on Sunday, do they need to be finding more of a way to work him in with more snaps defensively?
I'm not sure because he hadn't played a defensive snap all year, I believe, until that game. So there's certainly something to think about after his performance, but I know that EJ was their guy going forward, and they kind of looked at him to be that leader. So I just don't see, if there is a real path for Grant Stewart to have, another sort of big level performance or get a bunch of snaps because he is a big time special teamer as well. So I would just say that's probably more of a one-off in my opinion. But again, it does give the Colts some confidence to know that, hey, if we do need this guy to step in or EJ or somebody else isn't bringing it like we want them to, we had this guy who's going to play all out every snap because, as everyone saw, Grant Stewart only has one speed, and that's 100%, 100 miles per hour.
He was a badass dude on Sunday, James.
Oh yes, yes he was.
Badass dude right there. All right, what are you writing about here too? Are you going to do any Pacer work as they start the season?
We'll see. I definitely want to, so I kind of have to talk to my editors about it. Their thinking is more or less, hey, if you get all your Colts stuff done, do it at a high level, we can do whatever the heck you want. So I just got to prove myself again, and I'm excited about that. So hopefully I can get over for some big games. I won't do anything day to day, obviously, because I have to be here with the Colts. But Boston coming to town, the Knicks, those types of matchups, or anything else that kind of piques my interest, I definitely want to get over there to Gamebridge for sure. And then as far as the Colts go, I'm working on a story literally right now about what we talked about. That honeymoon 2-week period where you're facing quarterbacks who aren't good. That's over. And now you're going to face this gauntlet coming up. And are you going to sink or are you going to swim? Are you for real or are you not? So I'm excited to kind of put that out there and kind of ask some questions and talk to some guys about it this week. And we'll see. That's what I love about sports, man. You can talk all week, and then you get to the game, and all that talk doesn't mean anything if you don't perform.
One more thing regarding Miles Turner here. 10 years, one team. Will that continue after this year, or is this going to be it, you think, for him?
Yes, he is going to continue being an Indiana Pacer, mainly because I do think he's a big part of their future still. He's been in the league, 10 years, I believe, and he's only like 28, so he's not that old of a player. He's actually my age, I believe. So, yeah, he's, in a good spot. He fits the modern NBA, the style of play that they play, that, space and pace. He can shoot the ball, defend the rim. So I think he's going to be here for the long term. And honestly, I think it's just like an annual tradition, like he always talks about. Miles comes up in trade rumors. He comes up in extension talks and things like that. And eventually we look up and say, hey, he's still here.
I think now more than ever, the Pacers certainly have realized, and certainly Miles as well has realized, his best spot is here, playing the role that he plays here, being anywhere in the general vicinity of a willing elite-level passer and distributor like Tyrese Halliburton has completely raised the bar on his game. This is still the most perfect fit for him and for the Pacers with a big man in mind, easily.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always easy to look and see, oh, maybe I could be great over here, or if I played with them, it'd be so different, and I will get all these shots. And it's not 2K, man. This is real life. And so you're in a good spot. You've helped build something special. I think that, which I also think means a lot to him personally, to do it kind of from the ground up. And you're appreciated. No one in the Colts, not the Colts organization, the Pacers organization is saying that they, don't appreciate what you bring to the table, don't value what you bring to the table. And also having a guy like Tyrese Halliburton in your corner, who I'm sure would vouch to keep him under any circumstance, certainly wouldn't hurt.
Got it. James, I appreciate that, man. Enjoy the game tonight, and enjoy that trip down to Houston covering the Colts, and we'll do it again soon, man. Thank you.
Sounds good. You have a good one.
James Boyd of The Athletic on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Much like me, likes to play a little pickup basketball, which is nice. Stephen brings this up. We'll play off of this and take your calls at 239-1070 on the other side. But as bad as the Colts seem, 6th in the AFC, 3 losses have been by a total of 11 points. Should it not feel that way? Back to that on the other side. Calls coming up. Colts Daily Update with Grant Stewart and Casey Valier coming up at 6. We have Disturbed tickets to give away. And do not forget, we've got some Anything Goes. So I got to do Colts Update and then Anything Goes? Oh, hold on. How's that go?
It'll be Anything Goes, then we'll go into Colts Update.
Oh, man. So Anything Goes. How long will Anything Goes be then?
It will be about 9 minutes.
9 minutes of Anything Goes coming up at 6 o'clock. So be ready for that. On the road in Westfield tomorrow. Sam's Silver Circle Friday. Joe's Grill in Westfield coming up tomorrow. I got to check the email here. We may be witnessing the triumphant return, I hope so, of our good friend Brent Halverson. Wasn't feeling well in the past week. Hopefully that is the case. Quick break. We'll come back. Your calls at 239-1070 inside the AAA Hoosier Motor Club Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a member today. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
We're putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way.
We're on a mission from God.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Disturbed and Daughtry, Cambridge Fieldhouse, April the 9th. Number 9 at 239-1070 is going to go on us. Wow! Disturbed and Daughtry. Number 9, 239-1070. Have at it tomorrow. Westfield location, Joe's Grill. Love to see everybody there. I'm going to jack it with this camera right here inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. I can't get it right, baby. Colts Daily Update coming up after 9 minutes of Anything Goes at the top of the hour. And then Pacer pregame. Pat Boylan's going to be in studio. Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill, as they start out the 2024-2025 season on the road against the Pistons tonight at 7 o'clock. Coverage begins right here at 6:30. I mentioned Joe's Grill, Westfield tomorrow. Sam Silver Circle, Bud Light Blue Friday is coming up on Friday. It is going to be a blast of a couple of days right here for real. On hold for a long time. Let's go Clint at 239-1070. Clint, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, James?
Hello, Clint. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, I wanted to give my son's team a shout-out. I talked to you a couple months ago, and my son's team had just beaten your Center Grove boys, 6th grade. They won the championship, IEFA. It's been around for...
What is that? What does that stand for?
Indiana Elementary Football Association.
Gotcha.
They've been doing it for 55 years.
I remember this now because I went to play basketball after you mentioned that, and a bunch of Center Grove people got pissed off at me because of what you said.
Well, we beat Center Grove in the semifinals, and then we turned around last Saturday and beat Westfield. It's the first time Noblesville's ever done it in the entire existence of the league. So I got to give a shout-out to these coaches, these boys, especially that right tackle, number 61, my son, Noah Jones.
Well, good for Noah, and thanks for the update, Clint.
Hey, no problem, man. You take it easy, all right?
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Clint, and thank you. Noah, congratulations. Yeah, I caught a bunch of flack from some Center Grovers because of that. So I'm going to be big time in CG now. Laney's doing a little basketball thing, so that is officially underway. Let's see if I can make some games. I never noticed, I guess, that the girls' schedule, a lot of these things start like when I'm still on the air here. How the hell am I going to get to places? Actually, in full disclosure, I think she's better off without me anywhere near the premises. I have just kept my nose out of it. I guess as parents, you just kind of realize there's a time and place. And I think my time and place is now gone. As far as interfering with that, I'm just not going to be. And some aren't built that way. And some are going to brown nose it up. Some are going to try to enforce their will. I'm just going to sit back and let her have a hell of a good time. That fair to say? That's fair to say. See if I can make some of those games. I'll sit and watch from the back. And believe me, man, the ones that act like buttholes announce their butthole presence with authority too, don't they? Me say that, and it will not be me. From a distance. Like Bette Midler. Bill's up next at 239-1070. That's probably the worst reference of all time right there. Billy, go ahead. How are you?
Hey, man, it's great to follow Bette Midler.
From a distance. Yeah. That's for whatever reason. Two things popped in my head. From a distance and The Distance by Cake. And I went with Midler. Two distances came in. Yeah.
Man, that's funny. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about the Pacers, but
sure.
Tyrese Halliburton was the host of the NBA has a podcast. It's called YM3,
okay.
Young Men 3, and Tyrese Halliburton was the host of this episode that aired today, and his guest was Barack Obama.
Huh.
So, everybody Google that and everything, and give that a look because it's up. And very, very interesting. But big plans for Tyrese Halliburton after his career is over with and everything, not only with the league, but probably with the Pacers as well. But I want to talk a little bit about the weapon that is returning for the Pacers that was dominant last year, and that is T.J. McConnell.
T.J. McConnell, indeed. Go on.
because there is still not going to be a team that's going to be able to match up. Their second unit's not going to be able to match up with him, and he's going to run roughshod just like he did last year. And I predict that tonight the Pacers are going to play Miles at the 4, and James Wiseman will be the actual center. I think you're going to see that. They're going to get Miles out on the perimeter a little bit more and doing the high pick and roll like they did last year. And so it's going to be extremely exciting. Can't wait.
Billy, am I going to see you tomorrow or Friday? Which one?
Oh, I'm going to be at Sam's Silver Saloon, baby.
You got it, buddy.
Square.
That is a big time. That is literally Fountain Square or just off of Fountain Square? What should I say?
I think it's just off of Fountain Square, but after a couple Bud Lights, I won't know.
Is that Prospect? Am I right about that street, though?
I believe so.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
love
be
it.
Right around there. It's going to be great.
That is a Cathedral football home place right there. Did you know that? That's where all the Cathedral footballers hang out. Not the players, but their family members and the coaches and such go there.
It's the alumni spot?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, better than what I said. I didn't explain it very well. You're right. The alumni spot.
Bring him on down for the game, baby.
Appreciate you, Billy. We'll see you on Friday. Sam's Silver Circle on a Bud Light Blue Friday. I don't know initially how much, if at all, you're going to see of James Wiseman. And I also wonder how much, if at all, you're going to see of Ben Shepherd. Ben Shepherd's going to get my T.J. McConnell honorary award of holy crap, he gets no minutes to start the season, but all of a sudden you realize that you're going to need him. Of course, that's T.J. McConnell of a year ago. And if you remember, one of the few things I ever tabbed, actually two things, Miles, which all of you now fully understand, and then T.J. McConnell and how essential he was going to be for this team in performing. And we learned that. Know that to be true now. BTR is at 239-1070. Hello, BTR.
Hello, JMV.
Were you looking for anything goes, or are you okay in this slot right here?
Oh, I'm cool right here.
All right,
Greetings.
Go ahead. Go ahead, BTR.
Greetings from Red Leg Country.
You over in Cincy, are you?
I am working over here this week.
Are you at Kings Island?
No, I'm in my hotel right now. Rakestraw was kind of elated. Just a couple things here. What your thought on the Francona hire was?
No, I love it. That's like the most excited I've been about the Reds in years. And that's what I mentioned. Since 1990, these are the type of moments that we remember and get excited about. It needs to start to become about winning, and to get somebody that is that accomplished all the way around, including leadership value and respect. I think that's a hell of a start right there.
Exactly. I agree. Second thing on Miles Turner, I agree with caller earlier. And James Boyd, I agree. I think they're going to extend him. He is a valuable part of this team, this lineup going forward. I just wondered when the day comes, once they give him, start doing the year-to-year contract things, what kind of backup we would have or kind of replacement for him going forward in a couple, 3 years.
Yeah, well, they don't have anybody replacement-wise that fits the mold / the role that he does as a big, which is exactly high ball screen, pick and pop wise is how they play. And Isaiah Jackson can't do that. James Wiseman can't do that. So not a lot of guys, honestly, that can do that. That's why I mentioned BTR, that both Miles and the Pacers realize that his best fit is right here. That's his best fit. So you're number 10 for him. Hey, by the way, one of these days we're going to see his number in the rafters, aren't we? Is it going to be recognized? I can't wait until that happens. Then I'm really going to make everybody eat it. I can't wait.
I've kind of been on and off the Miles Turner train over the last couple, 3 years with you, or, since his career here, but I really like him in his role now, and really excited about him going forward in his role and his leadership. And hope for good things again this year. Make the haters and say, oh, everybody was injured. Let's prove them wrong this year. Good
yeah, Pacers. BTR. Good point right there with the Pacers. Hey, by the way, too, Billy had mentioned James Wiseman getting run tonight. Isaiah Jackson's ruled out for tonight's game. So, the backup, you are going to see BTR. Thank you very much. Thank you. James Wiseman will back it up. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Me and you, other side. We've got little anything goes, top of the hour, Colts Daily Update after that, Pacer Hoops, pregame show-wise at 6:30. But somebody's going to get 50-50 betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Here it is, your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
certainly, but
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Lionel Richie right here is a re-entry. Woo! I'm going to sing the whole damn thing. Here's Hoosier Park Race of the Day winner, 50-50 in betting and dining, going to John Albertson. The horse was Shipwrecked. That's a good Florence and the Machine song. Is that Shipwreck or Shipwrecked, I believe? Great song, though. $6.40 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta went for $14.20. 50-cent trifecta, $8.60. That is your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Joe's Grill in Westfield, where I believe provided any setbacks. We don't want any setbacks, but without any setbacks, it is the return after 1 week down. Back from IR, Brett Halverson tomorrow. Hopefully no setbacks overnight for our good friend at Joe's Grill, Westfield, Large City Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. That is coming up tomorrow, 239-1070, the number right now. Jonathan is up next. Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm doing great, JMV. Hope all is well with you and
I
yours
am
on this
feeling everything's going outstanding, but thank you for the well wishes, man. We appreciate that. What do you got?
I just wanted to switch it up to some Colts talk. I know everybody's focused on Houston, obviously being an important game this Sunday, but I'm kind of looking not looking too far ahead, but reminds me of a drill that I do in my martial arts class, and it's what my teacher calls a pressure test, comparing it to capping a hose with your thumb. And not only is Houston going to be important, but I think the next 4 or 5 games are on the road that we got, if I'm right?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously we got Houston Sunday. Next week, or the week after that, rather, is going to be the Vikings on Sunday night. They're trying to bounce back from taking their first
Buffalo at home, the Jets on the road.
Right,
and then the Lions at home too, I think, right before you get New England. I believe that's the way that it goes. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So not looking too far ahead. Like I said, obviously we got to take care of business on Sunday in this division game. That's enough said. But just I'm looking at it with these next games. We're going to really see if the Colts can make a statement and actually show they're worthy of getting into the playoffs. And there's a million and one factors that go into that. We all know that. But I'm just looking at this as a pressure test and really wanting to see if the Colts can really show, hey, we can be a problem not only in this division but just moving forward. What do you really want to see on Sunday, JMV? And don't want to hold you up. Always appreciate, honor, and privilege for you to be able to get on the line with you.
Jonathan, thank you.
My school's around the corner from where you're going to be at next week at the Depot in Greenfield. So I'm going to have to try and drop in on next week if I can.
Well, listen, Thursday we're having a costume party for Halloween. Okay, and both Gina and Lindsay are going to be dressed up too. So join us next Thursday for the costume contest. I don't know if it's a contest, but we're going to dress up. So be there.
Absolutely, JMV. Have a great one this evening. Stay
Jonathan,
safe,
thank you very much. That is awesome right there. He was asking, what do I want to see? Obviously, I want to see what everybody else wants to see around here, and it's more consistency at quarterback. A level of play in which you can start to evolve a belief in, where it starts to become more of a, okay, it's going to happen, then cross your fingers and hoping that it happens. Now, specifically against the Texans defensively, I thought that they did a good job at getting after Stroud, but Stroud was still incredibly effective in a game that the Texans barely won at Lucas Oil Stadium in week number 1. It's just, don't let Joe Mixon get loose like that. And that was a part of by design. And that can't be a part of by design. So I'll start right there. And who knows regarding Jonathan Taylor? He was back at practice, whether or not he's going to participate. But coming back from injury, you got to see more of Taylor being, a defined win-loss high-level type of player, because all we kind of think about right now is, okay, much like Anthony Richardson in a similar feel, you just kind of hold your breath and wait for him to be injured. So those are three things I think we would start with right there that I'm feeling for that matchup against Houston. I mean, James Boyd said 3 of the 5 upcoming games they need to win. I don't know if they need to win 3. I said 2. I think you'll be thrilled with 2. You would be over the moon with 3. I don't think anybody's thinking about either one right now with that particular portion of the schedule. All right, other side, if you're on hold, we'll get to you. 9 minutes of Anything Goes. That's coming up next after 6 o'clock, followed by the Colts Daily Update, and then Pacer pregame with Pat Boyle and Mark Boyle and Eddie Gill. That's coming at 6:30 for the Pacers, and the Pistons tip time at 7 o'clock. But until then, we've got Anything Goes. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere at 239-1070. Join us on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
The sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Sounds like anything goes for the first time in a long time. That coincides with the Pacer game, 6:30 pregame coverage. Pat Boylan will be in this studio. Pacers Pistons at 7. We got the Colts Daily Update with me, Casey Valier, Grant Stewart coming up here in about 9 or so minutes. But prior to that, anything goes at 239-1070. We talk about basically whatever you want to talk about during this segment as it returns. It is anything goes. And Todd can lead at 239-1070, line 1. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, John. How
Hello,
are you?
Todd. I'm great. Thank you for asking.
I might have misunderstood you. You said there should be a Lance Stevenson banner hanging in the field house.
I think a lot of people would love that, but probably not Lance.
I tell you, with this franchise, you got to be in Springfield, I'm pretty sure, before you get a banner.
You might be. Probably are. Probably are.
Yeah. I get an HOA meeting coming up here in about 15 minutes where we'll talk about above-ground pools, trampolines, and storage sheds in the backyards. It's good stuff. So,
wait a minute. See, that's why I don't have to deal with that, man. That would suck. There's no way.
Yeah.
So who leads that? Are they pissy about stuff? Whoever the leader is of this HOA?
All, they're all septuagenarians because there's only people that can get the volunteer for the roles, and then
I tell the people that own property around me, and I have, I've got like 4 acres, and I created a buffer, and I always said, kind of in jest but kind of serious, I said, you guys blank with me, and I'm putting a hog barn back here as a joke. So
you're only allowed 11 mums. If you get 12, you're in violation. So
so what are you allowed to have in your HOA?
Well, no above grounds, no trampolines, and no mini barns.
When does it cease to be your ownership of your home, and then somebody else making those decisions for you? That seems like a pain in the ass to me.
Yeah, and you pay them a lot of money every month too. So it's kind of a double.
Yeah, Todd, what else you got, buddy?
On the picker for Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Mark Emmert will not be on the short list of those invited to.
It's going to end up being Schwarber, right? It's got to be.
I believe so. Unless they drag Mark Spitz out of mothballs, I don't know. I think it's probably Schwarber. Hey, I was going to let you know also, I've got an appointment next week with Premier. You know me well enough.
Good.
We have different builds, but I think your testimonials have been effective to me, and I got an appointment next week, and let's see how it goes. So,
if you want me to, I'll drop a line to Thomas and the gang up there before you go, or when you go.
I'll be going to Fisher's is where I'll be.
Yeah,
going.
sure. Yeah, and I went up there last week because I'd not been to that office, and I went up there, and actually Thomas wasn't there, but he dropped by Ale Emporium. And buddy, it does work. Now, I'll also say that while it has helped me, I also help myself. And I never thought that I would do that. And originally, I just wanted to get results because it was it's something I'm doing, and it's a partner of the show. But then it came to mind, I want to get results from me too. And I just kind of got into a groove. It's like a rhythm in my diet and what I'm consuming and what I'm not. And that has played as significant of a role. And I wouldn't even call it discipline because I'm still kind of enjoying what I normally would enjoy anyway. But it's certainly better to have blood pressure that is normal and, a lot of things, being able to sleep normally, all things that I was suffering from. I had no idea at the time. I didn't feel like I was overweight at the time, but now, 43 pounds later, I can see that certainly that was the case.
Well, I'll have a hard time giving up beer and bread, so we'll see.
I said the same thing about like cheese and crackers and yes, all of that. Yeah.
Hey, one last thing real quick. I'm a little nostalgia here. We were talking baseball. We're from the same era, basically. And I we talked about all these recent deaths, and I grew up. We watched Gowdy and Kubek and Garagiola. Garagiola was Euchre before Euchre.
Yeah,
he was kind of like the self-deprecating, backup catcher that and so. But that was, when you talk nostalgia baseball, I think we watched the same stuff.
We did, because I was a big fan of Tony Kubek.
Yeah,
because he was a part of that as well. Yes, Gowdy, Garagiola, Kubek. Across the board,
Gowdy.
They were my favorites.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, buddy, I'll let you get some other people. Thank you so much for your time. See you soon.
You got it, my friend Todd. Hopefully we'll see you very soon. It's Anything Goes at 239-1070. Let's go to John. Line 3 is next. Hello, John.
Hey, JMV. It's John Martin in Greenwood. What's up, man?
John Martin, shout out to you, my brother. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing today?
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Hey, so as you know, I'm a big IU fan, and I'm loving the moment right now with IU football and everything. But I'm a little concerned, and I'm concerned about the connection that Cignetti has with Alabama. Do you think that IU fans should be concerned with how Alabama they're not living up to their standard this year, and how quickly they could pull the plug on DeBoer and possibly
sure. Hey, John, I would tell you this. If I'm an IU fan like you are, right, I wouldn't be concerned about anything right now, because if it's going to happen, it's going to be inevitable. Man, just make sure you soak up every last minute of this. And I made it to a much lower comparison to how I felt about Indiana State basketball last year, because there was just a lot of probability here that it wasn't going to be the same, and this was kind of a one moment in time thing. And I'm not suggesting that's going to be the case with Curt Cignetti in Bloomington. I just want everybody that's an IU fan that has suffered through bad seasons, bad play, soak up every single second, every single series, every single snap of what you're witnessing right now, because it's special. And really, I think that is how you should be about college sports in general, because most of them will change, if not dramatically, year to year in the era in which we're in.
Absolutely. You see parking passes are going for about $500 this
Yeah,
weekend.
I love to see it. I have so many friends that are longtime IU football fans. I'm very happy for them.
Absolutely.
John,
all right, John, I appreciate the call.
Great to hear from you. Appreciate you. Fulton at 239-1070. Anything goes, Fulton. How are you?
Hey, John. How are you, man?
Fulton, you're not going to make it tomorrow, I hear.
I'm not going to make it. My mom and I are going to Brown County to see my grandpa.
Good for you. Brown County's a good spot. Tell your mom I said hello.
She will, yeah. I will let her know. When are you guys coming? When are you guys coming back to Hampton County?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but it probably won't be too long until we're up somewhere near you at some point. So just watch out for us.
Well, I want to come to the studio to check to see you there. So maybe,
Fulton, I appreciate you. We got to run here. Tell your mom we said hello. Enjoy Brown County.
I will.
Gotcha, Fulton. Thank you. Daryl's up next to close out. Daryl, give me 10 seconds of your best material.
I just want to congratulate you on your weight loss. I know what you're going through. Keep it up, man.
You're better than I am, brother. You're better than I am. I'm proud of you.
Have a good one, brother.
That's Daryl right there. Big Glenn's gone. Darn, I was going to go to him. Sorry, Big Glenn. Hey, tomorrow, Westfield location. Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. And without a setback, the return of Brent Halverson. Jim Romanak will be there, the great Romy. Nally and Miller, the Ryans will be there. Joe's Grill in Westfield. Gina Glaros going to join us tomorrow on the show as well. Andrew Catalan of CBS tomorrow. Mike Chappell, who has the media room at the Colts complex named after him, also on tomorrow's show. More Disturbed tickets in Westfield tomorrow at Joe's Grill. Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Pacers pregame, bottom of the hour, the Colts Daily Update. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere.